The Honourable Annette King.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question's to the Prime Minister. In light of his statement, quote, "I have spoken previously of my concerns about a growing underclass and vulnerable children are at the heart of that issue," end quote. What specific improvements has his government made to address both the underclass and vulnerable children in New Zealand?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, this government has supported lower income families and vulnerable children through a difficult economic time by maintaining benefits and income support payments, including working for families, and through additional assistance such as the Restart Package and the 9-day fortnight job support scheme. Government has also seen to increase the minimum wage from $12 to $13, has invested $125 million in the upgrade of state housing, has seen 47,000 homes retrofitted for low-income New Zealanders, has increased the number of under-sixes that are getting free access to doctors, and a range of other initiatives we've undertaken.
Thousand more children are now living in severe hardship since he became the Prime Minister, and if his policies are so successful, again closed before the last election to highlight what he called the underclass in New Zealand.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, well, it depends on how you define that. There's obviously a lot of different measures that are used, but what is true is that there are more people on a benefit in the last couple of years, and that actually reflects the fact that we've been in a global recession, and those that have the lowest levels of skills are likely to be laid off first, and we've seen that consistently applied around the world.
The Honourable Annette King.
Mr Speaker, when he said he had the concerns of the underclass at heart, did he imagine that the number of people on all benefits would as released in official statistics just a few moments ago, despite his so-called improvements?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, what I did have concern for was the fact that so many New Zealanders find themselves in a position where they are living in low income, and what is quite clear is that we need to make significant changes to help those people. One of the ways to do that, of course, is allow the people transition off welfare into work, and the government will be addressing that issue in the next few months.
The Honourable Jim Anderton.
When the Prime Minister said in his speech to the House yesterday that, quote, a society should be judged on how it treats its most vulnerable citizens, end quote, how would he judge the actions of his own government in cutting by 30% this year funding for conductive education programs and the removal of all funding by 2014, when by any measurement the seriously disabled and fragile children being so badly affected are clearly amongst New Zealand's most vulnerable citizens?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, well, I'm advised that in terms of that policy or that program, only a group of citizens or children got that. But overall, we've increased significantly the amount of money spent in education in that area.
The Honourable Annette King.
Question, Mr Speaker. When he said he had done, quote, as good a job as we can, end quote, for low-income families, did he at any time consider giving up his or his mate's $1,000 a week tax cut to ensure that children from the so-called underclass he mentioned in his speech could have just a little bit more?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, I'm struggling with where the member gets a $1,000 a week tax cut, because without going into too fine a points, the last time I looked from the Remuneration Authority, the Prime Minister of New Zealand earns $400,000. The difference between the top rate, which was 38 cents, and the new rate of 33 cents is 5%. 5% on $330,000 is about 15 grand.
The Honourable Jim Anderton. Order. 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 I've called the Honourable Jim Anderton. Order.
Speaker, what responsibility does the Prime Minister take for the ever-widening gap between those at the top of income scales in New Zealand and those at the bottom, with all the associated health, education, housing, employment and social problems that are attendant to those situations, given that he says he believes that our society should be judged on how it treats its most vulnerable citizens?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, it's always a debatable issue about that gap and quite subjective. But what I would say is if one was to go and look at the range of things the government has been doing, and I listed a whole range before that are helping lower income New Zealanders, I'd also make the point that just if you look at the advice from NZIER about the 90-day trial period, something I know that members vehemently opposed to, it's likely to have created 13,000 jobs.
Question number 6, Amy.